Welcome to God's Rescue and Restoration Plan, Session 12. This session is going to be God's covenant with Israel. If you recall, in the last session, we were looking at potential crossing points of the Reed Sea and potential Mount Sinai scattered around. We looked at a number of those. And then we zeroed in on this one and zoomed in on that and followed the likely path of Israel when they were leaving Egypt and the likely place where the crossing was of the Red Sea, right there with the arrow, and then how they moved into the wilderness of Shur, as the Bible says in the very next thing, and likely followed this dotted line path. There was a road there or a pathway there towards what I think is the likely candidate of the four we looked at for Mount Sinai. So that's where we were. Now we're going to pick up the record where they're at the mountain, Mount Sinai, in Exodus 19, verse 1. In the third month, after the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on that same day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. When they had departed from Rephidim and had come to the wilderness of Sinai, they encamped in the wilderness, and Israel encamped there before the mountain. Moses went up to God. And I'm going to pause here for a second. I think most people think Moses went up to God once, but we're going to see him going up and down this mountain as we read through this today. And you'll see it was multiple times that he went up and down. He got his workout, he got his hiking in. He went up to God. Yahweh called to him from the mountain, saying, Say this to the house of Jacob and tell the children of Israel, you yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you here to me. So now, if you will listen, yes, listen to my voice and keep my covenant, then from among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, you will be my treasured possession, and you will be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you are to speak to the children of Israel. So I want to dig into this a little bit because there's some really important words here. That verse 4 particularly is basically a covenant statement, but it's got some ifs and ands and thens in there. So let's just drill into that a little bit more so we really see what God is saying, make it really clear. So now, if you will listen, yes, listen to my voice. If, big word, if, it's dependent, it's conditional. This is not an unconditional covenant where it doesn't matter what anyone does, it's going to happen. This is conditional. It's conditional upon if you will listen, yes, listen to my voice and keep my covenant. You got to do both things. Listen to my voice, keep my covenant. If you keep up your end of the bargain, then from among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, all the people that are on the earth, of all of them, you will be my treasured possession. Think of that, to hear the promise from God Almighty that your people, you are his treasured possession from everybody else. And you will be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. A kingdom of priests, the function of a priest is to connect man to God, be that intermediator and connect man to God, and a holy nation. And the nation of Israel, as we're talking about it here, started with one guy, Abraham. And then he had a family. And then that family grew, and it grew big enough that now they're tribes. By the time of Jacob, 12 tribes. And the 12 tribes ended up in Egypt, and they multiplied, and they grew to be many, many people. Now God is formulating a nation. And this nation needs rules and regulations. It needs ways and guidance for how to govern itself. And that's what a lot of this is. This is the right way for my nation, my treasured possession, to behave and to administer the nation itself. And it's God first. So these are the words that you're to speak to the children of Israel. So Moses went and called for the elders of the people, set before them all these words that Yahweh commanded him. And the people answered together, the elders, and they said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we'll do it. Then Moses brought the words of the people back to Yahweh. He told them what they told him. We're going to do it. And Yahweh said to Moses, behold, I will come to you in a thick cloud so that the people will hear when I speak with you. So it won't just be you, Moses, hearing me. The people are going to hear this so that they will also trust in you forever. Moses told the words of the people to Yahweh, and here he's telling him all the details. Here's all the things that they said when they said yes. So verse 10, Yahweh said to Moses, go to the people, make them holy today and tomorrow, have them wash their garments, be ready for the third day, because on the third day Yahweh will come down the mountain, Mount Sinai, in the sight of all the people. And immediately when I think of the third day, he's going to appear on the third day. It makes me think of Jesus. You know, he was crucified, he was dead, buried 3 days, 3 nights. And here it says third day, and it just makes me think of that. And then it says, you must set boundaries for the people all around the mountain, saying, be careful that you do not go up onto the mountain or touch the edge of it. Whoever touches the mountain is to be put to death. Yes, death. No hand is to touch him, but he's to be stoned. Yes, stoned. Or shot. Yes, shot. Get your bow and arrow out. Whether animal or human, he is not to live. And that makes me think of Jesus when the first appearance with Mary, he said, don't touch me, because I have not yet ascended to my Father. And here on the mountain, God appears, don't touch the mountain. Now, when the shofar sounds a long blast, the shofar is a horn, an animal horn that's turned into a, a horn to blow and make a sound. It can, and those who were guarding and looking out for walled cities, for example, they would always be looking for the enemy coming. And if they saw the enemy coming, they'd sound the horn. But it could be for that. It could be for a warning. It could be for a celebration. It could signify something. But that meant something. And now the shofar sounds when the shofar sounds a long blast, they are to come up to the mountain. So gather at the mountain when you hear that. 3 days. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people, made the people holy. They washed their garments. He said to the people, prepare yourself for 3 days. Do not have sexual relations with the woman. And on the third day, when it was daybreak, there were thunders and lightnings and a dense cloud on the mountain and the sound of a very loud shofar. And all the people in the camp trembled. It was so loud. And think about that. They didn't have loudspeakers. They didn't have amplifiers. They didn't have things like we have at concerts and outside venues where they can amplify the sound and make it really loud. And where you can even feel the sound. They weren't used to that. They didn't have that in those days. So here's this very loud shofar, and it's thundering and it's lightning. The camp trembled. The people in the camp trembled. And so Moses led the people. That's the shofar. So the people out of the camp to meet God, they stood at the lower part of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was all wrapped in smoke because Yahweh came down on it in fire, and its smoke went up like the smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain trembled greatly. Can you imagine that? I just imagine the steam and the smoke and the fire just shooting up and the whole mountain shaking. It's loud, and the sound of the shofar grew louder and louder. And then Moses spoke, and God answered him by a voice. Everybody heard. And Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain. Yahweh called Moses to the top of the mountain. There he goes, going back up. And Yahweh said to Moses, go down, warn the people so that they do not break away from the congregation of Yahweh to see him, and many of them perish. Also the priests who come near to Yahweh must make themselves holy, otherwise Yahweh will burst out against them. Got to play by the rules. And Moses said to Yahweh, the people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, set boundaries around the mountain, set it apart as holy. But Yahweh said to him, go down, and then come up, you, Aaron with you, but do not let the priests and people break away from the congregation to Yahweh, otherwise he will burst out against them. So he's getting this all set up. So Moses went down to the people and told them, and then God spoke all these words. And the people could hear this. And it's basically the 10 Commandments. I am Yahweh your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of a house of slavery. You must not have any other gods besides me. Do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that's in the heavens above, or that's in the earth beneath, or that's in the water under the earth. Do not bow down to them and do not serve them, because I, Yahweh your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing covenant faithfulness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. Do not misuse the name of Yahweh your God, for Yahweh will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You are to work 6 days, do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yahweh your God. On it you must not do any work, not you, not your son, nor your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, nor your livestock, nor your sojourner who's inside your gates, nobody. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens, the earth, the sea, all that's in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long in the land that Yahweh your God has given you. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not give false testimony against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's house. Do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that's in your neighbor's. Don't covet your neighbor's stuff. Leave it alone. It's his or hers. All the people saw the thunderings and lightnings and sound of the shofar and the mountain smoking, and it's just too much for them. It's overwhelming. So when the people saw it, they moved back and stood at a distance. They said to Moses, "You speak with us and we'll listen. We want you to go up and talk to God. Let him talk to you alone. You come back, tell him what he said, and we'll do it. But if he speaks directly to us, we're going to die. This is too much." And Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid, for God has come to test you so that the fear of him will be upon you and so that you will not sin." He's testing in the way that makes them stronger, and they have great fear and reverence and respect for God, and therefore will be obedient. So that's the idea anyway. So the people stood at a distance, and Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. And Yahweh said to Moses, "This is what you're to say to the children of Israel. You yourselves have seen that I have spoken with you from heaven. You just heard me. You just heard me say these things. You've been there. You've seen it. You heard it. Do not make gods of silver to be with me. Do not make for yourself gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings, your peace offerings, your sheep, your cattle. In every place where I cause my name to be remembered, I will come to you and I will bless you. If you make me an altar of stones, you must not build it of cut stones, for if you lift up your tool on it, you have defiled it." So this is interesting because an altar, God never intended the altar to be something really pretty, something to admire, something that really calls attention to itself. The altar is a workplace. It's a place where animals are butchered. They're taken there, they're killed, they're skinned, they're butchered, they're cut up, then they're put on fire and burnt. And so you got to have lots of wood coming in to keep it going. You got to take the ashes out when they're done. There's a lot of blood involved, and the people doing this are going to get blood on their clothes and all. It is a working environment, and it is a lot of work to do these sacrifices, and they do a lot of them with a lot of animals. So it's earth. It's made out of earth, or it's made out of stones that aren't uh, chiseled out or sculpted in some way. It's just stones. It's a work. It is what it is. It's a working place. But this is where the sacrifices are, and it's a really important place because that's one of the ways to get close to God. So now, Exodus 21, verse 1. Now, these are the ordinances that you are to set before them. And these next few chapters of Exodus 21 through 23 list a variety of ordinances along the lines of a number of topics. So personal injury, theft, crop protection, personal property, seduction, capital offenses, protecting the vulnerable, respect for God, honesty and justice, Sabbaths, the 3 feasts, promises and warnings about keeping the law. And they're useful too, even for us, although they don't apply to us specifically, because this is setting up the nation of Israel. But it's helpful to learn how God thinks about things, about these topics, so we can read them and understand more about how God thinks and how he views things. And then we're going to go with chapter 23, verse 20. says, "Behold, I am going to send an angel before you to guard you on the road, to bring you into the place that I have prepared. Pay attention to him, listen to his voice. Do not be rebellious against him, for he will not pardon your disobedience, for my name is in him. But if you listen, yes, listen to his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies, be an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you to the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Canaanite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. I'll wipe them out. You must not bow down their gods to serve them, nor do according to their worship practices, but you must tear, yes, tear them down. Break, yes, break in pieces their sacred standing stone. Just turn their false gods and idols into rubbish. You are to serve Yahweh your God, and he will bless your bread and your water. What a promise. He's going to keep you with food. You'll have water to drink. I'll take sickness away from your midst. You won't be sick. No one will miscarry or be barren in your land. You'll have babies. I will fulfill the number of your days. You'll live a long life. I will send my terror before you. Will throw into a panic all the people that you come to. I'll make all your enemies turn their backs to you. They turn their backs because they're running away. They're running away from you. Their backs are to you. I will send the hornet before you that will drive out the Hivite and the Canaanite, the Hittite from before you. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the animals of the field multiply against you. But little by little, I will drive them out from before you until you have increased in number and inherited the land. As your population grows, so will the land, and your ownership of that land will continue to grow with it, because I'll clear them out. I will set your boundaries from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, from the wilderness to the Euphrates River, for I will give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you are to drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their gods. They must not live in your land, lest they make you sin against me. Indeed, you will serve their gods, and indeed, it will be a snare to you. So then Moses went down and told the people all the words of Yahweh and all the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice and said, "All the words that Yahweh has spoken, we will do." Moses wrote all the words of Yahweh, rose up early in the morning. He built an altar at the foot of the mountain and 12 standing stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. And what's going to happen here is the ceremony or the process of turning this agreement into a blood covenant. Remember, we looked at blood covenant, particularly with Abraham, where the animals were cut in half and then you walk down on the blood between them. But God walked both for himself as well as for Abraham, and that was an unconditional covenant. But this one is a conditional one. It has conditions. You have to agree to those things Yahweh said. And they said, we will do. So now, setting it up. Verse 5, then he sent young men of the children of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of bulls to Yahweh. So they sacrificed on the altar. Bulls, plural. So they would kill the bulls, and there'd be a lot of blood involved with that. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he threw on the altar. So that's the blood that secures God, that says God is part of the blood covenant. It's on his altar. And then Moses took the book of the covenant and read it in the ears of the people. He read the whole thing, and they said, all that Yahweh has spoken will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and threw it on the people and said, look, this is the blood of the covenant that Yahweh has made with you in accordance with all these words. It is a blood covenant. It's a binding covenant for this agreement between God and the children of Israel. It's not between God and Gentiles. It's between God and the children of Israel. And they agree to it. It's a blood covenant. So now we're going to move to Numbers chapter 9, starting in verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they'd come out of the land of Egypt. So now we have started the year number 2. Verse 2, the children of Israel are to keep the Passover at its appointed time. On the 14th day of this month at evening, you must keep it at its appointed time, according to all its statutes and according to all its ordinances, you are to keep it. So this will be the anniversary date. This Passover that they're going to keep will be the anniversary of 1 year from the original Passover, which was the night that they started to leave Egypt. It's been 1 year. Keep the Passover. So Moses spoke to the children of Israel that they were to keep the Passover, and they kept it. They kept the Passover in the first month on the 14th day of the month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahweh commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did. Verse 15, on the day that the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered the tabernacle. The tabernacle is the tent and all that went in it, and the surrounding net fences and so on. This is the house of God, and this is where Moses would meet God, the tabernacle. And when God gave them directions and instructions about it, they built it, they did it the way he said, they set it up, and now it's set up. And when the cloud covers the tabernacle, the tent of the testimony, and at evening it was over the tabernacle like the appearance of fire. It doesn't say it was fire, but the appearance of fire until morning. So it was continually. The cloud covered it by day and the appearance of fire by night. He was there. They would know he's there. When the cloud was taken up from over the tent, then after that, the children of Israel traveled. And in the place where the cloud remained, there the children of Israel encamped. And at the commandment of Yahweh, the children of Israel traveled, and at the commandment of Yahweh, they encamped. As long as the cloud remained on the tabernacle, they remained encamped. Whether it was 2 days, verse 22, 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud stayed on the tabernacle, remaining on it, children of Israel remained encamped, didn't travel. But when it was taken up, they traveled. So that's how they knew how to move and how to stay. God made it very clear with his angel, the cloud, and pillar of fire. And one day, Numbers 10, verse 11, in the second year, Numbers 10, verse 11, in the second year, in the second month, on the 20th day of the month, the cloud was lifted up from over the tabernacle of the testimony. They had been in the Mount Sinai area for quite some time, for months now. But now they're in that second year. They just celebrated Passover in the first month, in the 14th, and now it's in the second month, and it's the 20th day of the month, so it's fairly far into the month. The cloud comes up. It's time to move on. So here is the mountain that we were using for Mount Sinai at my suggestion. And, it isn't so important where all those things happen exactly. What's most important is that these things really happened, and they did. But I think this is a very good candidate, in part because they're traveling and they don't have much time to get where they're going. And they're going up here to Kadesh. And what we're going to do now is zoom into the map closer, make a close-up where that rectangle is. There we go. That's the close-up. So you see Kadesh over here. This is where they're going. And they're traveling up to that. And Numbers 13, verse 1 says, Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, send men that they may spy out the land of Canaan that I give to the children of Israel. You're to send a man from every tribe of their fathers. Everyone among them is to be a leader. So there's 12 tribes. There's going to be 12 men. They got to be leaders, and 2 of the 12 are Caleb and Joshua. Verse 3, Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran according to the commandment of Yahweh. All the men were leaders of the children of Israel. Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. They're going to scout it out, and said to them, go up there into the Negev and then go into the hill country. So the Negev is here. That's the name of it. It's actually this whole region is the Negev. It isn't just where the name is. It's just this whole general area is the Negev. And then the hill country is farther north. And this is where it gets more mountainous and rougher terrain, whereas it's more flat, and although elevated in a lot of it in the Negev. But up here, you got mountains and hills and so on. So that's where they're going to scout out. You can see here, the spies are going out from Kadesh. They're going to go up this way, and then they're going to go all these different places and check things out. In verse 18, go see the land, what it is, the people who live in it, where they are, whether they're strong or weak, whether they are few or many, and what the land is that they live in, whether it's good or bad. Is it good ground? Is it bad? What cities are there that they live in, whether they live in camps like we do, or are they in strongholds and walled cities, or what's the situation? And what the land is, whether it's fat or lean. Is it fertile? Can we grow things? Does it have grazing areas. What's it like? Be courageous, bring back some of the fruit of the land. Now, the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. And that tells us exactly when this is happening. They are going to come back with first ripe grapes. We're going to see that where they bring grapes back. Well, the first ripe grapes happen from mid to late July in our calendar, from mid to late July. So the second half of July is when the grapes come, and they bring grapes back. So the spies are going to spend 40 days doing this. They're going to come back. So at the end of the 40 days, it's the second half of July. And so what that means is from Passover in Egypt to when they originally left Egypt to when the spies return after 40 days of scouting is only 1 year and 4 months. In 1 year and 4 months, they not only left Egypt, but they spent all that time in Mount Sinai. A blood covenant is established. They've repositioned themselves, and now they have scouted out the promised land in 1 year, 4 months. I think most people, if you ask them how long how long did it take them to get to the promised land, they'd say, well, they were wandering around in the Sinai Peninsula for 40 years and they were lost. Took them 40 years to get there. Oh no, it took 1 year and actually less than 1 year and 4 months because of those last 4 months. 40 days were spying. So anyway, it happened pretty quick. So the spies went out. They spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob near Lebo Hamath, and they went up by the Negev. They came to Hebron, and Ahiman and Sheshah and Talmai, the sons of Anak, were there. Now, Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Now, I want to call this out. And Ahiman, actually it's Ahiman, Sheshah, and Talmai, the sons of Anak, were there. Those 4 people, they're Nephilim. They're known to be Nephilim. They are Nephilim. It's obvious they're Nephilim because they're big. And they saw them. And that's something to note here. The Nephilim have come back. Remember them from before Noah? Well, now they're back. He's done it. The devils have done it again. And they are populating this promised land that needs to be taken back. It's land that God has given to his Israel. And there they are, verse 23. They came to the valley of Eshcol, cut down from there a branch with 1 cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a staff between two guys. There's a pole, like a pole between them on their shoulders, and then in between is hanging this cluster of grapes. So it must have been pretty big. They also brought some of the pomegranates and figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes that the children of Israel cut down from there. And at the end of 40 days, they returned from spying the land. They went, they came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation. They're going to give their scouting report to declare what they saw. So they come to the congregation of the children and Moses and Aaron, Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh, and brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, he said, we came to the land where you sent us, and surely it flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit from it. It is a productive land, and look at this. This is really something. But, however, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified, very large. Moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. We saw the Nephilim there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the Negev, the Hittite, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite dwell in the hill country, and the Canaanite dwells by the sea and along by the side of the Jordan. So Caleb, one of the 12, he stilled the people. There's a lot of murmuring and commotion. He stills them because that's concerning. He stills the people, stilled them, quieted them down. The people before Moses said, look, let's go up at once. Let's possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who went up with him, other than Joshua, said, wait a minute. We're not able to go up against the people. They're stronger than we. What are you thinking, Caleb? They brought up an evil report of the land that they had spied out to the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that eats up its inhabitants. It's harsh to people. It's hard to survive. And all the people who we saw in it are men of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the sons of Anak, come from the Nephilim. And in our own sight, we seemed like grasshoppers, and we seemed that way in their sight. They thought the same thing. And the congregation lifted up their voice and cried out, and the people wept that night. They were distraught. We've come all this way and out of all this stuff to a place that we can't possibly win, because they're only thinking about people and about body and soul stuff. They're not thinking about God. They're not thinking about their God who's made promises to them. All the children, verse 2, of Israel murmured against Moses, against Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in the wilderness. Why did Yahweh bring us to this land to fall by the sword? Our wives, our little ones will be a prey. Wouldn't it be better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, let's appoint a leader and return into Egypt. Let's get rid of Moses and Aaron. It's a mutiny. Let's appoint a leader, someone else, and get back to Egypt. And Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. That must have been just a horrible reaction to hear. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, who were of those who spied out the land, tore their clothes. They were so distraught. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land that we passed through to spy it out is an exceeding good land. It is wonderful. It's an answer to our prayers. If Yahweh delights in us, and he said he did, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Only don't rebel against Yahweh. Do not be afraid of the people of the land, for they're bread for us. We're going to eat them for lunch. Their protection has departed from over them. And Yahweh's with us. Don't fear them. Yahweh is with us. And what was their reaction? Let's stone them. But all the congregation threatened to stone him with stones. They're going to kill him for saying that. But the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tent of meeting to all the children of Israel. Oh, and that means Moses needs to go talk to him. So Yahweh said to Moses, how long will this people treat me with contempt? How long will they not believe in me for all the signs that I've worked among them? I will strike them with a pestilence and disinherit them, and I'll make of you, Moses, a nation greater and mightier than they. I'm going to start over. I'm going to wipe them out. I can't stand it anymore. And Moses said to Yahweh, well, if you do that, then the Egyptians will hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land. They've heard that you, Yahweh, are in the midst of this people, for you, Yahweh, are seen right before their eyes, and your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you killed this people as one man, then the nations that have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, well, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land. He wasn't capable of that, couldn't make it happen. That he swore to them. Therefore, he slaughtered them in the wilderness. That's what they're going to say. Now, please let the power of the Lord be great, according as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh, slow to anger. You said this. He's slow to anger, abundant in loving kindness, forgiving iniquity and disobedience, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and the fourth generation. Please pardon the iniquity of this people, in keeping with the greatness of your loving kindness. And just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt even till now, you've been forgiving them right and left, right along the way. Please pardon them one more time. And Yahweh said, I have pardoned according to your word. Moses interceded for the children of Israel, and Yahweh honored that and pardoned them. But truly, as I live, and as all the earth will be filled with the glory of Yahweh, which is still future, because all these men, those men who have seen my glory and my signs that I worked in Egypt and in the wilderness, yet have tempted me these 10 times and have not listened to my voice, surely they will not see the land that I swore to their fathers, nor will any of those who despised me see it. Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, how long must I bear with this evil congregation that murmur against me? I've heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, that they murmur against me. Tell them, as I live, says Yahweh, surely as you have spoken in my ears, so I will do to you. Your dead bodies will fall in this wilderness, and all who were numbered of you according to your whole number from 20 years old and upward, who have murmured against me. Surely you will not come into the land concerning which I swore that I would make you dwell in it, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones that you said should be a prey, I'm bringing them in, and they will know the land that you have rejected. But as for you, your dead bodies will fall in this wilderness. Your children will be wanderers in the wilderness 40 years and will bear your prostitution until your dead bodies are consumed in the wilderness. According to the number of the days that you spied out the land, even 40 days, you will bear your iniquities a year for every day, thus 40 years, and you will know what it means to oppose me. You have 40 years to live if you're 20 years old and up, and you're going to die in the wilderness. So Moses told these words to all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. They realized, oh, we have messed up bad. So they rose up early in the morning, went up towards the ridge of the hill country, saying, behold, we're here. We'll go up to the place that Yahweh has promised because we've sinned. We're going to go up and get them. We're going to attack because it's our country. God, our land. God's given it to us. And Moses said, why do you now disobey the commandment of Yahweh? You're disobeying him again. Now you're going to go up, but he doesn't say to do that, since it will not prosper. Do not go up, for Yahweh isn't among you, so that you are not struck down before your enemies. For there the Amalekite and the Canaanite are before you, and you will fall by the sword, because you have turned back from following Yahweh. Therefore, Yahweh will not be with you. It's a suicide mission. But they presume to go up to the top of the mountain. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moses didn't depart out of the camp. Then the Amalekite came down, the Canaanite who lived in that mountain, and struck them and beat them down even to Hormah. And here's Hormah, where they think Hormah is. The mountain's up here, so they chased them all down and killed them, hurt them bad. They did not prevail. And so what happens next? It's wandering in the wilderness. And this wandering happened, I think, pretty much in this general area, probably bigger than this little circle, but in this general area through the wilderness. It isn't like they went all the way back to Egypt or anything. They just wandered around here for 40 years, basically. And those events are covered in chapters 15 through 19 in Numbers. There's a number of events that happen, but there's also more instruction and ordinances that appear in those chapters. So we're going to carry on to chapter 20 and pick it up there, verse 1. The children of Israel, even the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month. And what that means in the first month is that that's the first month of the 40th year. So wander for 40 years before you come to the promised land. Well, they're in the first month of the last year. And the people stayed in Kadesh, back to Kadesh, and Miriam, Aaron's wife, died there and was buried there. And there is no water for the congregation. They assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. The people quarreled with Moses and spoke, saying, we wish that we had died when our brothers died before Yahweh. Why have you brought the assembly of Yahweh into this wilderness that we should die there, we and our animals? Why have you made us come up out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It's not a place of seed or of figs or of vines or pomegranates, nor is there any water to drink. They're complaining again. These are the children, the ones that were younger. Year 39's over, you're in year 40, so it's got to be pretty close. Maybe a few older ones there yet, but pretty close. And they're being like their parents. So they're quarreling with Moses. Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the entrance of the tent of meeting, fell on their faces. The glory of Yahweh appeared to them. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, take the walking staff and assemble the congregation, you and Aaron your brother, speak to the rock, while they watch, and it will pour out its water, and you will bring water out of the rock for them, so you will give the congregation and their livestock drink. Did he say to hit the rock with his staff like what he did the first time when they were at Sinai in Horeb? No. He just said to speak to it. Speak to the rock while they watch, and it'll pour out its water. So Moses took the staff from before Yahweh as he commanded him. Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, "Hear now, you rebels, must we bring water out of this rock for you?" And Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff. And water came out abundantly. The congregation drank and their livestock. But Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not believe in me to treat me as holy in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you will not bring this assembly into the land that I have given them." They paid dearly for that mistake. They did not do what God said. I also kind of wonder the way they said this. "Here now, you rebels, must we bring Aaron?" Who's the we in that sentence, I wonder? Is it Moses and Aaron, or did it include Yahweh? I wonder. But at any rate, he struck the rock twice, and he wasn't supposed to strike it at all. He was just supposed to speak to it, and it would be so clear that Yahweh did it. Now, why is it such a huge penalty for Moses that he can't enter into the promised land now because he did that? And the answer is that God is setting up, at least I believe this to be an answer, and the commentary of the REV makes a good case for this. Believe that it ties into this. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, God is setting up an allegory of the rock with water coming out of it and Jesus Christ, who is also the rock and provides um, the water, the spiritual water. So 1 Corinthians 10:4 says, "And all drank the same spiritual drink." And this is talking about, this specifically is talking about Israel. In this situation at this time, is these people all drank the same spiritual drink, for they were drinking from the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Christ. In John 6:35, Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never, ever hunger, and whoever believes in me will never, ever thirst." He's the rock, and he's the spiritual rock. Provides the spiritual water. It's never will thirst again. John 7, verse 37, "Now on the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles, the great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried out, saying, 'If anyone is thirsty, whoever believes in me, let him come to me and drink.'" This is the water, and God was setting up that allegory with Moses, with the rock, first at Horeb and again here. Exodus 17:6, this is the first instance. He says, "Behold, I will stand in front of you there on the rock in Horeb. You are to strike the rock and water will come out of it, and the people will drink." So Moses did that in the sight of the elders of Israel, and it happened. Now, then he says, in the next verse, he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because the children of Israel quarreled and because they tested Yahweh, saying, "Is Yahweh among us or not?" Over here in Numbers, many years later, and another rock, "These are the waters of Meribah." He gives it the same name, two different places, two different times, because the children of Israel quarreled with Yahweh and he proved himself holy among them. Two times it establishes that it's the same rock. It's Jesus. It's the Messiah. It's the seed of the woman who is the rock and provides the water. And you know what? The first time the Messiah came, he was struck. He was crucified, he died, he was buried, and then he rose again. But he was struck the first time. The second time, he is not struck. He comes because God sends him to the earth as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. No striking. He's not harmed in any way. He comes as a victor. And that's the way the second episode was supposed to be in Kadesh. Speak to the rock, and the water comes. After a period of time, he comes again and is not harmed. He comes as a victor and supplies the water. And Moses messed it up. And because of that, he can't go into the promised land. That's something. Well, after that, Moses and Israel follows God's lead to the east of the promised land. So basically, They're here in Kadesh. Now these arrows that were, whoops, I go to this screen that you can see my arrow. Um, they're here in Kadesh, and now they're going to go along this path, and they want to go through Edom, and get through this pass, but Edom won't let them. So now they got to go all the way down here and circle up, and then they're going to come up on the east. So the land of Canaan is on this side of the Jordan River and the Dead Sea, and they stay up on this side of it, east of it, all the way up and actually go north of where this map shows. But that's what happens next. And this is where we're going to leave their journey for today in this session. But I do want to just reiterate, just remind ourselves of what we've seen through these sessions so far when it comes to covenants and promises, because this is God's plan. It's his rescue plan and restoration plan that's being revealed iteratively over the years. And we're seeing more and more come together. We're seeing more and more, getting more and more visibility to what he's doing and why. But we don't have it all yet. What do we have? Seed of the woman, the Messiah. So we know about that. The promised, he promised soul life a solid, stable environment to live in. This is Moses, the rainbow covenant, where he promises he's not destroying the earth by water again, and the seasons are going to be maintained. There's going to be heat and cold, time to plant, time to harvest, all of that. It's going to continue on. It's going to be a safe, solid place to live for humans. And God promised Abraham, he promised him countless offspring, a crowd of nations. We're seeing a nation happening here, a blessing to all nations because the bloodline of the Messiah and the land, the promised land. He's promised all those things. Plus, he promised him a son and an heir, and that happened. He also promised that his descendants would sojourn for 40 years, ending in slavery. That happened. And now God's covenant with Israel. It's a conditional covenant upon obedience to God, and Israel will be God's treasured possession, and Israel will be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And that's where we are in this development of God's plan. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next session.